What's up, guys? So there's more information on NASCAR Heat 5. I'm going to talk about that, as well as an article talking about the future of these NASCAR games with 704 and Paul Coleman, who I think is he's the director of development, or he's pretty much the guy who's overseeing the development, and he's going to talk about the plans of the future, which really interests me. So before I get into it, I want to thank Elite Precision 29. I'm sorry, for keeping me updated. He sent me some information on what's in the game, and I did go poke around a few other places so to get a good idea of what's in the game, which 704 did not really do with their uh, trailer, and the information was very minimal. So before I get into that, that brings up something I've been talking about every year, something I've been very critical of 704 in particular, is their marketing. Their marketing continues to be horrible. It's just the way they market this game, it makes no sense. And it really highlights the things that are wrong with it. They'll list certain features and that really shouldn't even be listed. They talk about things like 40 player lobbies, split screen, things that have been around already. Why would you list this stuff? It's just going to make people, and I watch everybody else's videos and their reactions. The same thing across the board. People, when they read this stuff off, their first reaction is, why are you listing this? This is not new, and it's not even, some of this stuff isn't even worth calling a feature. And I concur. This is what I've been saying. This is why I talk a lot about the marketing, because a lot of it makes no sense, and it's like they're shooting themselves in the foot. So I would say most of the coverage yesterday by almost everyone was really negative, and I don't blame them. But we do have a better outlook now into what's really in the game, what they really did work on. So I'm going to talk about that stuff, what I think of it, and whether it really changes anything. So they've added DNFs, which is, all right, hold on a second. Sorry. They've added DNFs, which is something a lot of people have asked for years. Is that a big feature? No, but it should have been around from the beginning. But hey, they've added it. Hopefully, it adds a little more uh, variety to the gameplay and the racing in career mode, and even just regular races. Having that as a possibility that you might not even finish. It's it's one of those things. It's good that it's there. I don't think it's a game changer, but it is what it is. Solo practice sessions is one of the things that they did reveal yesterday, and really not that big a deal. Solo practice sessions, really testing, is practice without AI. Basically, something that should have been there from the beginning. How hard is that to do? I don't know. Reduced pit stop times. That's always a bonus. Again, something very small, not worth bragging about. We're not getting a paint booth. We already know that, but it does seem like they did go in there and make some changes, which is something I asked for, something I said would go a long way. There's a lot you can do without necessarily building a paint booth from scratch. Yes, we want a paint booth. We want more options in the future, but I've I've never really hated the customization that they have in the game. It's the limit, that how it's limited. That's what bothers me. I've talked about in a recent video, very small things you can do to improve it drastically, and I think that there's a lot you can do there that would actually really it wouldn't really eliminate the need for a full-blown paint booth. You still want that, but I think it would really go a long way in pleasing a lot of people, including myself. Do I think that this is going to go far enough? I don't really think so. I talked about that, I would at least add maybe 15 templates. You got to have a lot more templates. So they did confirm that they added templates and number fonts. But I wouldn't expect it to be more than maybe two or three. I'm just guessing, judging by the way they do things. It's better than nothing, but I really would like a much larger variety. And the number fonts, I'm hoping it's not just a couple more of these wonky looking, missized fonts with backgrounds you can't change. They're just all with this thick black outline that you can't do anything about. Um, but that's probably going to be more or less what it is, rather than these, more elaborate fonts that I showed examples of and things you can do with that. But hey, they added some stuff in there. According to this list, they've also, added more options to coloring the wheels, something I've been talking about. This isn't a big deal. It's not a game changer, but man, it's nice to have those kind of options. And it makes a huge difference in the type of combinations of paint schemes or templates, the colors that you use. It makes a big difference in having options to do more. A lot of times I want to do a particular scheme, but there's no, with the limited uh, wheels that you have to choose from, none of them really capture the look I'm going for. So it kind of limits you. Hopefully it goes, you know, they let you color any color you want, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. Again, not a big deal, but it's something. And coloring, it says upgrades such as spoilers. I guess you could paint the spoiler. I don't know. That's a wait and see thing, but it's at least positive that they did go in there. They made some tweaks and added some stuff. You know, it is what it is. The biggest thing that I saw that I'm looking forward to, that I'm hoping is noticeable, is AI improvements. How the AI races each other, to me, has always been the number one most important aspect of the gameplay mechanics. A lot of people, they they put like physics on more as number one, and I'm right there. Number one and two, they're very close. But it's how the AI to me behaves, races each other, spreads out, runs different lines, maybe misses their mark. That's something I think really has been missing. NASCAR Heat 4 is the best AI we've ever had, bar none, from any NASCAR video game. So that's one of the things I'm most pleased about. And if they were able to go in and actually improve it, that is something I am looking forward to, and I do think is important. But like one of the things I really want to see is more dynamic stuff with the AI. Whereas right now, even though it does provide a pretty solid experience, there is room for improvement. I would like to see these guys miss their mark once in a while, make mistakes, maybe have tire wear affect them a little more. And right now the way it is, they kind of hit their mark every lap, and their laps are so consistent. You are fighting to catch them, and if you make one mistake, miss your mark, slip up a little bit, maybe touch the curb, it kind of throws you off, or you overdrive a corner, make a mistake, you kind of lose all the momentum and all that buildup. Uh, and I would like to see the AI kind of, have to deal with that as well. In either case, it is subjective, and it could be one of those things where when you play it, you're like, is it really improved? Am I just seeing what I want to see? I'm hoping that it's more noticeable than that where it's like, oh, this is obviously better. I'm seeing some cool stuff here. That's what I'm hoping for. Really, of all the things listed, I put that at the top as the things that I'm That's most important from what I see that they've actually listed. Esports expansion, more stats, ability to create your own schedule, uh, not choosing through presets when it comes to championship mode, all that stuff. I know esports is important, so I have to respect that. Even though I don't care about online, there are ways to improve it. I've talked about that. So 704. Okay, now so that pretty much covers most of the add-ons. Marketing wise is to me something they really have problems. Even the trailer does nothing to excite me. It almost looks like a trailer that was made by somebody, at home. Uh, the car models don't look that great because they put this big neon lighting in the background. I know they wanted to do something cool, and you get this Bergren's narration in the background. It just, to me, the trailer is something that it's more geared towards younger kids who might, who would get excited over stuff like that. I think those of us who are older, more hardcore, we're looking for features. We're looking for to know what's actually in the game, what's noticeable, um, rather than these dramatized, videos that really, what does that have to do with the game? It's just, you know, I'm not going to kill it. It's just that we didn't get that much info yesterday. Today we did. Uh, Overall, the game is what I said it would be, or seems to be. It's not going to be a huge leap. It's pretty much NASCAR Heat 4 when they went in, added a few things here, tweaked a few things there, and called it a day. That's not that big of a problem for me. I knew it was the situation. I've talked about all the reasons why. I've given these guys, I think, a fair uh, description of what's going on, and I'm treating it fairly, I think. Then there's a big problem. Two big problems that I have with NASCAR 85. First, and probably most importantly, the price. You can't charge full price for this. This is not a full priced product. That's worth full price, I should say. They're doing the same business model of last year with this gold package, and then they got this $50 regular package. That's too much money for what we're gonna get. They know it, and this is why they list all these things that really shouldn't be listed. They're still listing split screen. Uh, I mean, does anybody use split screen? I, I never hear people talk about it. I don't see any videos of people using split screen. I mean, that's an outdated feature. In either case, they're listing that 40 player lobbies. That's been a thing already. That's not new. When you list all this stuff, it just highlights the fact that there's not much else going on. So why would you charge full price for this? So the price is not acceptable. I don't blame people if they look at this and say, I'm not buying it. The only people I could possibly see buying it, and it's like, okay, if you didn't buy NASCAR Heat 4. Because in all fairness, NASCAR Heat 4 is a huge improvement over NASCAR Heat 3. And if you didn't buy NASCAR Heat 4 for whatever reason, and you're thinking about jumping in, then get NASCAR Heat 5. It's NASCAR Heat 4 with some slight improvements here and there. So that's the only time I could justify it. If you bought NASCAR Heat 4, I cannot blame people who say I'm not buying this. I can't. Regardless of it's not acceptable. Even with NASCAR 15, when that came out, 704 bought those assets off of Utechnics. They knew that game was not worth the full price of a game, of a regular game. They knew what it was. If memory serves me correct, I think they charged $25 for that. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I do believe it was like 25 bucks for the game. They knew that it was just a cut and paste rehash of NASCAR 14 with updated rosters and paint schemes. That's all it was. They knew they couldn't go out and ask for full price. They did the right thing. Some people complained, but there wasn't real backlash as far as I can remember. Why? Because you treated people with respect. You knew what it was. You said, give us 25 bucks, help us. We're trying to build this new franchise, support us, and people did. So to me, this is the same situation. You're going to a new build, next gen. You're going to start from scratch. You got a whole new uh, development group working on this. You're doing this in house. You're hiring people. You're going through all these changes. You need people to support you. You have to treat this the same way you treated NASCAR 15. Even $25, a lot of people might look at this and say it's not worth it. But I could accept it. Not this. $70 for a gold package? That what? A couple of Tony Stewart schemes, a spotter, and you know the other thing that bothers me, besides the price, DLC paint schemes. Fuck me. All right. Sorry about that. DLC paint schemes don't add anything substantial to these games. It's just a money grab. And the thing that pisses me off more than anything is that every year we're told we couldn't give you this because resources, time, all this other stuff. Every year. We're 5 games into this series. We still have hold on, major features missing. And but you still always find time and always find the resources to focus on DLC paint schemes. It makes it really hard to defend you guys with all these issues and the lack of resources and the little bit of development time that you've been working on this. It's hard to defend that or use that as a defense, but you're still able to push out all this DLC that doesn't substantially do anything to improve the game. That's a huge problem. I cannot defend that. And this is what pisses me off about this stuff. And these guys, if you don't want to be considered just another run-of-the-mill developer who's greedy, looking for ways to monetize and get more money from people while not delivering a fully fleshed out game, this is not what you want to do. If you don't want to be seen as one of those developers, that's a problem. You're charging full price, and then you're pushing this DLC stuff. And notice you've never seen them one time say, we didn't have enough time or resources to do the DLC paint schemes. So bear with us, we had to focus on the game. They never do that. It's always the other way around. It's always, we couldn't give you a paint booth this year, maybe next time. We couldn't do caution replays. We couldn't add more to the career mode. There's no presentation added. Just didn't have the time. Just don't have the resources. We're a small team. But yet, feel free to buy all this DLC we came up with, all these paint schemes. By the way, haven't you guys noticed that all of these paint schemes don't add anything? When you play the game, I'm not talking about if you just pick out a car and use it, but the rest of the field, the AI, you don't even get to see most of these paint schemes. Once in a blue moon, you might see one of those DLC schemes on the track as you're racing, but you have no control over that. It's all random. You just bought all these paint schemes. What are you really getting? It's a waste of money. I know these guys are always looking for ways to make more money, but you can't do that when you don't have a fully fleshed out product yet. And people are still screaming about caution replays, paint scheme, paint booth, uh, a deeper and more immersive career mode, lack of presentation. You can't have it both ways. So those are my two major problems with this: the price and this DLC paint scheme stuff. It's a bad look, and I totally understand why people are so down on this. I will say though, some of this stuff, it's better than I thought, but still, this is what I knew it was. So those are my thoughts on NASCAR Heat 5. Uh, my mind is really on the future. I'm really more concerned about where they are going with the next gen. The next game after this is the one I'm really going to criticize and judge these guys on. I'm not going through this, we're giving you a half uh, finished product and then hope that you keep buying these games every year. We're 5 games deep into this game, into this series, off this build, and look where we are. How many times are you going to do that to people? Don't forget that a lot of us went through this with Eutechnics. It was the same thing. Now, 704 has done more to improve the games than Eutechnics, but they're still way behind. It's still not a modern day, fully fleshed out sports title. So those are my thoughts on that. We pretty much know everything about the game now, and it is what it is on that front. So now I'm gonna go. There's an article, Gameinformer article. You can Google it. It's called "What's in Store for the Future of NASCAR Heat." This is what I'm really looking forward to. There's a guy named uh, Paul Coleman. Okay, let me just go through the article. They announced this year's NASCAR Heat 5. Game is not the sum of the company's ambitions. I should hope not. 704 Games has bought development in-house, which we already know. A new company, Motorsport Games, made up of Codemasters veterans, is handling the publishing. Okay. All right. So this is one of the big things, the things that I'm kind of hoping really start to show up. A lot of these guys came from Codemasters. So yes, these guys have this thing for the next 9 years or whatever. But a lot of these guys came from Codemasters. They have the experience, and hopefully they bring some of the type of gameplay and features and the way that the Formula One series is structured, bring that to the NASCAR franchise. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that's what happens, and that's pretty much where I'm focused on. We feel like with Heat 5, we're reaching the end of a chapter. There's a lot of really important changes we want to make and take a run up as we look into the future. Okay. I'm not going to read every line. So he talks a little bit about online. He said there's some aspects of the code that prevent them from adding big features or fixes to the game's online features this year. So that's one of the real big things with the current build. They're saying that it's hard for them to go in there and tinker with it. I'm not a game developer, so I can't really say whether or not that's a legit excuse. I'm sure it does sound somewhat legitimate, but at this point it doesn't really matter. So they have ambitions to remake the game from the ground up, competitive and esports play in mind. Sorry, every time I say the word esports, my stomach turns. I get a little nauseous. But it is what it is. I know that a lot of you guys care about that, and it's not all about me. Apart from some of the fixes that have been rolling out via patches to the current game, tweaks for NASCAR Heat 5 at a minimum, mentioning upping the mode's production values of future titles to match fanfare of a televised race broadcast. What does that mean? Presentation. So what I feel is probably the single biggest problem we've had with NASCAR games in the past 10 fucking years is the lack of presentation. These games are bare bones, have no presentation whatsoever, no narrative. It's just jumping from one race to the next, very little else going on. And this is talking about the online. So they're actually talking about adding some of this stuff to online, which to me indicates that definitely is going to be a much deeper, it's going to play a big role in the offline career mode. So I'm looking forward to that. They say, stabilize the net code in general, which is a no-brainer. Yes, these uh, lobbies and these servers have to run smoother. There's a lot of issues there. Adding a full weekend schedule, virtual practice, qualifying, all that stuff. Sounds good for the online. Now we move on to career mode, which is what I care about. Put you in the garage, manage building, upgrade of your cars, more room in the mode to delve into the drivers themselves. There's ways you can really start playing with drivers' emotions a bit more, giving them that sense that they are driving in a driver in this world, this NASCAR world. Things I've talked about, that's what I want to hear. Now there's one thing here that also makes me kind of cringe. Wants to maximize the publisher's access to real life drivers beyond filming cameos. These fucking live action cutscenes and cameos with the drivers talking to you, they need to fucking get rid of that. I don't want to see that ever again. That shit is just a reminder of how outdated these games have been. It's a cheap shortcut for not having real presentation. Everything in these games should be animated, just like every other sports game. You don't see this live action cutscene bullshit or these athletes talking to you in a real camera. You don't see that anywhere. It's horrible. It is cringe inducing. I hate it. I don't want to see that again. Get rid of that. So I'm not sure this means they're going to continue that and give it a twist. No, I don't think that's what they're saying. But when I see that, it just okay. Give you a look at drivers. Here's something else. He mused that perhaps other avenues could be explored, such as getting a good look at how drivers negotiate switching teams, for example. These are things that I've talked about. There has to be a lot more going on. Dealing with sponsors, dealing with owners, dealing with switching race teams. There's a lot that goes on off the track that needs to be a part of these games. So this sounds good. Love to explore team aspects beyond just drafting partners on the track, widening out driver relationships, something that resonates with players over the long run. Okay. Most NASCAR games have handled this with simple friend-foe designations. Adding depth to the vital and sometimes volatile relationship between drivers would be awesome. I agree. I've been talking about that. Maybe have some interactions or confrontations after a race. If you had a lot of contact with somebody, get into a shoving match. In the sidelines, in the pits after a race. Maybe having interviews and stuff, and having a guy walk up to you and just push you, because there's so much you can do that would add so much to these games. But it does sound like they're kind of leaning in that direction with what they're saying. You do have to kind of read between the lines, but that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, there are no real concrete plans yet. Further exploration of team dynamics, relationships. Sounds like a good start for the career structure. I agree. Then they talk about rules, getting into more real life type of following rules. need to do a better job. DNFs are in NASCAR Heat 5, which is, like I said, it's better. It's a decent thing to put in there. Going forward, team wants to add proper black flag rules and alluding to the possibilities, allowing players to have some kind of role during restarts, picking their lane, stuff like that, stuff that we had before, and I don't know why we don't have it again right now. But again, all of this stuff is important. DLC, ugh, oh my god. Post-release content for the series so far has revolved around supplying fans with different paint schemes. Coleman says that DLC could also be a way to add to explore legends of the sport via challenges. I don't care about challenges either. As I've said before, challenges are something you do one time and that's it. You never do it again. It's not worth spending the time and resources adding something that people will only try one time. Nobody does these challenges multiple times. You do it once or you do it till you pass the challenge and then you move on. And you never do it again. Wasted resources. I don't want to see that. More games. All right. And they also talked about expanding to doing other types of games of other types of racing disciplines, meaning maybe open wheel, maybe dirt, maybe other kinds of series. I don't have a problem with that, but you can't. You have to focus on delivering a fully fleshed out NASCAR title or series before you start branching out into other things. But that pretty much ends the article. It's a look into the future. I like a lot of what I heard. It doesn't get into deep detail. They even said that they're not really even on the drawing board stage where they have a list of things they want to do. But you know what? That's where we as a community have to communicate with them and put out our ideas. Continue to do that. Tell them what we want. And 704, if you're listening, you have to give us the things we want. Okay? I understand that you're trying to make money and there's a business and you have to meet a certain quota, but this is a very small niche consumer base. And if you don't give people what they want, they're not going to continue supporting you. So, guys, really, I'm not, I'm not pulling punches with the next game. I mean, I am sort of giving these guys a little bit of a pass because of all these extracurricular issues going on. But it's hard when you look at what they're asking for in terms of price and you're still pushing DLC paint schemes. It's hard to tell people we couldn't give you this, but hey, we still work on DLC paint schemes. It's not good. So I'm just kind of done with this series. I have to be honest. I just want this game to be released. Let it release it and move on. Go to the next gen. Go in full speed ahead, and you gotta deliver. You can't release the next game and have major features missing. You have to have a fully fleshed out game from beginning to end. Nobody's going to continue to support you if you're going to say, well, no paint booth and there really isn't a lot of presentation. Maybe next time, but here's more DLC paint schemes. People aren't going to continue supporting that. So those are my thoughts. We now pretty much know what this next game is. It's pretty much what I've told you it would be. A lot of it is understandable. A lot of it is, somewhat acceptable. But it really all completely unravels once you see what they're asking for. Charging full price for something that is really a cut and paste rehash with minor polish work across the board is not a new game. You guys could do better and you should do better. I mean, 704 new not to charge full price for NASCAR 15. They knew what it was, and they treated their consumer base with some respect. This feels insulting. And then to top it off, you delivering all the DLC paint schemes that don't add anything to this game. And a lot of these paint schemes, by the way, are very repetitive. You'll see some of these guys with 3 different schemes, the same damn scheme, but only a couple of different decals, and that's it. It's that's all I'm gonna really say. I don't know what to think, to be honest. I'm not surprised about the game. I'm willing to support it to an extent. It just really, these guys screwed up. They're screwing up the marketing, and they're really screwing up just asking people for the full price of a game. And then on top of that, this DLC shit with all these other things missing. Those are my thoughts. I look forward to your comments. And before I go, I do want to thank What If Racing and Elite Killer, or Elite Precision. I'm sorry, he changed his name. Elite Precision 29, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these guys always support, what I'm talking about, uh, and they do a good job themselves of covering this stuff. So I hope you guys got some information out of this, and I also want to thank these guys for keeping me up to date on all the latest information. I'm supposed to be the one, keeping you guys up to date, and usually you guys give me a heads up. Um, Also, one more. I'm sorry. One more person I gotta thank. Bear with me. I'm sorry. Giovanni Torado, if that's the way it's pronounced, I hope. If not, I apologize. He always keeps me posted as well with good information, and he does a lot of these comparison videos, which I really find entertaining and very useful. So you can see kind of the difference between the previous game and the upcoming game. So I'm hoping he does a little more of that. And so thank you guys for the support, and we got to stick together as a community and keep pushing, and hopefully this stuff goes where it needs to go. So let me know what you think. I look forward to your comments later. Sorry.